Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. Hello.
Sam Healy. Welcome back, folks.
Today we're taking a look at the newest T.I.M.E Stories module, Brotherhood of the Coast.
Yep.
Real quick, no spoilers in this review, or if we get to spoilers, we will start shouting spoilers so you know when to turn it off. All right?
Yep.
So at the beginning, we're not talking about that. This is the 9th, I think, module for the game. It's either the 8th or the 9th. I'm starting to lose where they're at. And it's about pirates. That's very obvious from the back of the box and everything. It's a very piratey type thing. Mm-hmm. And so
Pretty obvious on the front, too.
going into this, I was kind of saying T.I.M.E Stories better have a good module for me here. Because the last module I did not like, and the module before that I thought was okay.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, hey, I need something fun. And I also really like pirates. I really like the pirate theme. This better be piratey.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. I felt the same way. I mean, if they fumbled a pirate one, you know what I mean? It's like, well, come on. This one should easily be fun. It's pirates is easy to make engaging.
did you feel it was piratey?
Yeah. I think they did a good job with the theme in this.
No, I agree.
Okay. I thought you were about to.
No. I think they did a great job with the theme. I think they did well making it more than just pirates, I guess you could say. There's other factions at work, and I'm glad that they included those. You know, there's, I don't know, it just didn't feel like, to me, Pirates of the Caribbean, which is pirates are main stage. There were other things going on in it as well, and that's what I liked about it.
I agree, and this one definitely had, thematic-wise, a good adventure.
Yeah.
You come into this, they give you a very clear thing. This is what you have to do. We're like, all right, what do we have to do? And we go around and we were accomplishing whatever the goal was, and then we would find out more of the story. And I thought the whole story was really interesting, and they even offered us some pretty interesting choices along the way.
Yeah.
Where we were not always sure. Like, for example, if I walk into a room and it says, a man's there about to kill a bunch of children, do you stop him or not? Well, duh, I stopped the guy. That's an easy choice. There's some more grayish choices in this one, I thought, where you were like, ooh, what is the right thing to do in this situation? They also definitely, this game, as everyone does, has some interesting red herrings that you will come across.
There's a lot of that.
I mean, and it doesn't matter how much you're on the lookout for this stuff. Sometimes
It just smacks you in
there
the
was
face.
one thing we did in this particular game where we thought this was like part of the main storyline. Mm-hmm. And when we finished, we were like, oh, that was actually nothing. So
Yeah. There's a lot of red herrings, unfortunately. Really time sinking kind of red herrings, which is, yeah, that can leave a bad taste in the mouth if you feel like you wasted a lot of time chasing down something, and when you finally catch up to it, you go, okay,
Wasted
I guess
all that
we need to
time.
do another run.
Yep.
I'll talk about runs in a bit.
yeah, we'll get to that. I also liked,
Scurvy?
and this is, okay, I'm trying not to spoil things, but this definitely, if you like the background overall story, this one does touch on that more so than the last two did, I thought.
Sure.
And so this definitely has that, because in T.I.M.E Stories, you are people being sent from the future back in time. And so there's always that little bit of tech underlying the pirate, whatever you're in this case, pirates. And in this case, you could see that.
It's there. You'll find it. It's there. I'm glad that they didn't forget what the game's main premise is. And some of the previous ones, you feel like, okay, this doesn't need the time traveling part. Like literally, as soon as we start, they forget about it entirely.
Yeah.
So for me, and I want to get this again, I'm getting some of this out of the way before we talk about everything else, is so far in the series, I would say this is probably my third or fourth favorite.
That's pretty good.
It is pretty good. My favorite is still Prophecy of Dragons, and then the Arctic one, whatever that one was called.
Expedition Endurance.
Expedition Endurance, those are my top two.
I think I agree.
And then maybe the original one, not the Marcy case, the Asylum would probably be number 3. And then, or this. That's what I'm saying. This could be 3 or 4 for me.
Interesting.
But I really like this a lot, despite I had some problems with it, but I still liked it a lot. And a lot of that was because of the story and theme, which I thought was really strong. And because it did something similar to Prophecy of Dragons, in which this one had, at least at points in the game, there was a lot more open-endedness than some of the other ones. A lot of them say, do this, do this, do this. The Egyptian one was the worst about that. This one we had at the beginning, we were like, you can do what you want.
The problem is they don't tell you, do this, do this. You need to discover that there's a real specific sequence.
Yeah.
And in this one, I don't feel that specific sequence was necessarily there.
This one, there was not as much sort of hidden hand-holding, like you gotta do this in the right order or just start again.
I wonder if that's because a lot of the things that you ran into here, you were able to keep from run to run. I wonder if that's the reason it feels that way. Because I think
maybe, yeah.
I felt like there was more ability to keep things between runs in this one than there has been in almost any of the ones.
By the way, that's one of my favorite mechanisms that this one added.
Yeah.
This one added a few new minor things, nothing major game-changing wise, but it added a few new minor things that I liked. This one definitely, again, has a lot of different, that freedom that's involved in this one. Now, that being said with all that, there's some things I don't like about this module. This one, we definitely did the most runs of any module.
Yes.
To the point where a couple times we said, we're just going to say we did the same run and we're now at this point. Because we were getting tired of going and doing some of this stuff.
How many runs do you think we did? 12?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
Again, I kind of worry about saying that because I'm sure someone out there's like, I did it in 2.
Yeah.
No, good for you.
I'm glad you did, but
no, you didn't.
Yeah, this took. No. I mean, part of that, on the one hand, I'm like, cool, there's a lot of story here, and there is a lot of content. It does not feel like they skimped on the content, Some of the other modules have certainly felt smaller. There's a lot here. It does feel epic. You have quite a bit to discover in your immediate surroundings, but then maybe that's not a great match for the general structure of the system. Maybe don't give me 30 time units or 20 time units or whatever. Maybe you need to give me 60.
Yeah, at this point, that the theming of that is gone. Like, they're not even explaining anymore why they can only send you back for whatever the short period of time is. And it almost feels like they want you to fail on run 1, and then we go back and Bob yells at us because we failed.
Bob.
And I'm starting to get irritated by that. I don't find it funny anymore. Like, I'll go back and Bob's like, you failed. I'm like, no kidding. You gave us like 0 direction. We wandered around, and then our time ran out. And then you yelled at us that we failed. I'm going to stab you, Bob. I hate Bob.
I hope in the next scenario, there is no time traveling whatsoever. We're just
trying to kill Bob?
Trying to kill Bob.
Wow.
To kill Bob. I would buy that one.
I would get that. I'm sorry. That would be amazing. It's just Bob on the cover. Like,
how about the hunt for Bob? We have to go hunt him down somewhere.
Hunt for Bob.
I'm there, man. I'm there.
There's some bloodthirsty
Sick of that
cats.
guy.
Yeah, but there's a couple reasons for that. One is, and at this point I'm going to break from this and talk a little bit about my overall thoughts on time stories. I love the idea of time stories. I love the whole Groundhog Day thing. You go through, it resets you, and then you're like, oh, this time I will grab the keys before I go to this spot and all. They went too far with some of them where they said you have to do things in a very specific order, which I did not like. This one, like I said, gave you a lot of choices, but this one has the problem. I think as time goes by, I'm getting very weary of the combat system in this game, especially with how difficult they make some battles.
Battles, yeah. It's just
You'll be like,
tough.
hey, here's a battle. You're gonna lose this unless you have all this stuff that's scattered throughout the adventure.
And the right characters that you might not have brought into play.
And even if you have all that stuff, one bad roll, and you can kill people. People can die.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, I'll go back and start again. But sometimes they do multiple combat sequences in a row, and then you did great in the first 2, but the third one kills you.
That's a
or
whole run. That might be like 25 wasted minutes, because of one roll, one fight. You technically have to start that entire run again. I would have loved to have seen by now we're 9 of these in, right? Make up some sci-fi fluff about having the ability to jump back 5 minutes or something in the same run. Let me take back a mistake or a bad roll in the same run. Don't punish me with an entire new run that takes us, 30 real-world minutes to probably get to the same point, and I might still roll badly. That's too bad.
Yeah.
That hasn't been fixed by now. Or tweaked a little bit.
Right. I mean, I was thinking they do give you some of those things that, the broken hollow pads or whatever you call them, that give you an extra so many time units or what have you.
Yeah, but that doesn't let you take back a mistake.
It doesn't let you take back mistakes, right?
Or bad rolls, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess there's enough. There could be, I guess you could say, if we were more, not expeditious, but more frugal, I guess you could say, with some of the things that we've gotten in previous runs.
I guess.
And we were better at keeping track of which one of those things that we have, because I don't think we have been very...
well, sure, but we got tired of doing it after a while. It's like, I don't want to go back and go to a location, put out all the cards to say, we're going here getting this item. Okay, put it all back together, now we're out. It just feels like it's a lot of actual real-life work to get that item.
I'm talking about some of those things rewards that we got at the end of other modules that we should have kept them in like a bag or something
sure,
like that.
But okay, let's say we have those things. We never are sure when to use it. Like, this
and when
battle,
you use it, it's gone, right?
Right, this battle, we're going to use it. Okay, that was a waste. You know what I mean?
Then maybe there's literally a battle right around the corner that's worse. You never know with this game. You can see a monstrous encounter and go, okay, let's put let's put everything we got into this fight.
Yeah. That
might be a precursor to a much worse fight at the very next location. You can never tell with some of the crazy stuff they throw at you.
Right, so what we found is, and I was talking about the take 20 aspect from Dungeons and Dragons. So if combat literally comes down to rolling the dice, and if you do poorly, you lose and you're dead, or maybe one person's dead, which kind of throws the whole thing off anyway, then can't we just replay the scenario, do everything exactly the same till we get to that point with the combat, and then do it infinity times until we roll exactly what we need.
Right.
So you just call take 20 like we beat this scenario because we would have eventually. It might have been run 50, but we would have eventually beaten it.
Are you mentioning that as a positive thing or as a negative thing?
Because no, as a negative thing.
I think that's definitely a negative thing.
No, that's what I'm saying. The combat is.
You can literally do that with any dice game ever. Where I'm going to do this and you can't stop me because I'm going to do it until I do it.
No, but it's only in a co-op game does that matter.
Co-op, and we're basically saying we would do everything up to this point that we just died, and redo it again. I mean, you can't do that if other factors would change, but in this game, you can visit the same location. Again, the cards don't change. If you visit here, you get the keys or whatever.
Yeah.
The only swinging factor would be the die roll to travel and then a fight. And if you take the average of that, you can take 20 and just be like, okay, we did it 48 times. On the 48th, we killed that guy. Moving on.
Doesn't the time die then flip that on its head? Because while this time we rolled a 1, a 2, a 3, and then a 1 for time travel, or time.
Sure, we're saying we're doing it a million times till we get that perfect combination.
I understand. It just seems, I don't know. You completely strip theme, mechanisms, everything off of the game.
Well, no, I go, but they're not giving me many other options. I don't want to go back and play for 20 minutes to fail again.
Then I think you don't like the game as much as you say you do, because that is like a central mechanism of the game.
Well, the segue, T.I.M.E Stories is dropping for me dramatically. And I still like the game a lot, but that combat and that whole get to a point and you die, now go restart, starts to become work after a while.
Well, everybody has to die for you to have to restart, technically.
Sure, but if you're in the middle of a locked combat and one person dies, it's hard to win those by yourself at that point.
Oh, yeah. I got it.
That is one thing. Again, that's not as big of a deal. The other thing that's kind of wearing on me is in the very first scenario, they were like, there's a big story behind everything. And then they would drop hints. Prophecy of Dragons, they told you what the story was, essentially. And some had like minor things, others had major. This one has major things. Now, what we're finding is a lot of this behind the story stuff, they're sticking on the internet. QR codes, whatever, go scan here and read this. I don't want that behind the scenes story. I want it to all be behind the scenes, like you can scan stuff and go and do that if you want, or it to be in the game. And I feel at this point like we're never going to see a finish. I feel like I'm watching one of those serial TV shows that me and my wife were getting all pumped up about, and they never show what happened.
Yes.
I don't want this to turn into Lost, the board game.
I think it's already there.
Well, technically they could still finish it up, but it doesn't look like they're ever going to. And I don't know how they could at this point, because they'll say, to play this game, you need to play all the other modules. You know what I mean? They almost back themselves into a corner with that.
Or just make you read some fiction. I mean, that's the problem. That you could probably just, if they wanted to do a final chapter, they could just have you read literally a condensed version of everything that's happened, and that would take 2 pages. Because it's not that much story. They've made you play through 8 or 9 of these, and yeah, what you are doing at that moment's fun. But if you're going to invest time into telling me there's a through line, where is it?
There would have to be more than 2 pages, I think, if they're going to tell you the entire backstory. I mean, if they're just going to give you the bare bones, this is what you did in this scenario, this is what you did in this scenario. Yeah.
You remember like things that changed the main story in the Egyptian one? Just to pick one.
Again, I'm not saying if they're going to tell us what happened, it would take more than just 2 pages.
You think so?
Yeah, because
story's so bare bones.
Well,
nothing's happened.
What we see on the surface.
All right. Well, here's what I mean.
It's a whole iceberg thing. Yeah, we've going through all 9 of these things. We've seen the tip of the iceberg. We haven't seen everything else that's underneath it. And one episode could tie all that stuff
together. And I think that's the problem for me. I'm sick of the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. If you're going to tell me there's a story, there better be a story. If this was a TV show, by the 3rd episode, you're still not telling me anything? No, I'm out.
It depends on the actors at that point. There's a lot.
Well, right. It depends how good the game is. So I do want to do a little bit of spoiler talk here because it would make more sense. But before we do that, before people who are not looking for spoilers, you guys need to give your final assessments of it.
Of Time Stories in general, or of this?
Both, I guess.
Time Stories in general, I'm still enjoying my time. It's a little hard too with these two because they're definitely not enjoying it as much as I am, I think. But it's I do find the combat a bit wearisome because it's like they expected you to bring all of the tank characters with you.
Mm-hmm. Except you can't use them the rest of the time.
But they're useless in so many other areas. Mm-hmm. They're only good for this one part. But the problem is that this one part is what you'd really need to go forward. Mm-hmm. All of the other stuff was fringe stuff where you got some clues, you got some ideas. But this one, where you need the tanks, you really need the tanks here. But they're almost useless on the other places. So I get the weary aspect, being weary of the combat system. I do understand that. I don't like, and I don't think you did either, but I don't like the whole take 20 idea that we almost felt like we had to employ.
No, I don't like it. I'm saying I did it because I felt like I didn't want to go back and set up again.
Right. And that's where some of the break is. But I still enjoy the system, and I enjoy how each episode or module has a different flair to it, has a different theme to it. And for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, they've done well at capturing the theme in each of those different modules as well. So I really think it's a great system. I just don't think it's going to be for everybody.
But this specific scenario?
This specific scenario is probably... I really enjoyed Marcy Case, and I really enjoyed the Expedition one. This is probably 3rd for me, with Prophecy of Dragons being 4th. And then the other ones, who cares?
I agree. I mean, this is one of the better ones, I would say. This is top half easily. This might be 4 for me. 3 or 4. I think the theme here is captivating. I agree that this game knows how to put you in whatever setting they're going with. I think that's great. I just, much like any other form of entertainment, a good book, a good movie, it's about the runs. That's the thing that did me in for this. I You know, it can be a really good movie, but not for 6 hours. It can be a really good book, but there better be a lot of changes from one chapter to the next to keep me invested in an 800-page book.
How long did we play, did you think? 5 hours? I feel like we did. Maybe 6? It was a long time.
Something like that, but again, that's taking into account the fact that we at least twice said, fake run, whoop, we're up to here again right now. That's another half hour at least.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact that the game, either you have to play out that extra half hour of doing the exact same thing, which I'm sorry, by the 8th time I've seen it, it's monotonous. I don't care how excited I was the first time I went to the tavern. I'm sick of the tavern. I've seen the same display, read the same flavor text, talked to the same person. 6, 8 times. You know, the game by now hasn't found a way to either A, give me a reset point. Other games have done this, other scenarios, where if I got to this place in the story, guess what? A new run starts from there. That's an easy fix. Give me the way to take back a few minutes if I made a big mistake or the dice went against me. I can just keep rattling these things off that would fix integral parts without us having to say, oh, we're going to take 20, you know. So that's unfortunate. That's a system problem, you know. I think the scenario is good. It's, you know, among the rest of them, it's solid.
I just had a thought.
Uh-huh.
Has nothing to do with Time Stories.
Oh, then we should probably not talk about it in a Time Stories video.
If you can play this for 6 hours, you can play TI-4. I'm just saying. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the...
Well, this
wrap
is
it up
monotonous.
quick.
TI-4 is not monotonous.
Let's get to the spoiler part here. Spoilers! I'll leave it on. All right.
Spoilers!
Puzzles. Easy puzzles, really.
There's not very many.
Except for...
Yeah.
I want to
they
say...
were easy because I figured out some of them.
It did? No, I did not.
Without them.
No, I'm not even... I'm not saying that at all. The final puzzle, which was pick one of these 3 pathways to walk on, we had to have that gone to another location, which it didn't give us any indication we needed to. We just picked one of 2 locations. Remember, we went to the pyramid, or the other ones, we went to the pyramid. We blah, blah, blah. We did all this fighting. Again, more fighting. We go in the pyramid, and we're like, we'll go to this card, and we just lost.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the bridge falls from
And that was one of those times where we were like, okay, bloop, 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 bloop. We came back to this point.
Literally at the very last minute there, boom, you died, start again.
This is like the last
That's a
room.
punch to the face.
Yeah.
Well, that is something they did in the very first scenario too, though. Remember, like there was the girl in the room, and what did you do? And if you made the wrong, we had made the right choice that time.
Yeah.
In this one, we died. However, we did not. It didn't like destroy us. We just had to start another run, right? Mm-hmm. We came in, but that was. I did like the whole morality of the story.
I agree, yeah.
I love that these 4 guys had come back, and we were like, we found the one guy, and we didn't kill him. And
Well, we didn't kill him. You were dead at that point.
Fine, I wouldn't have killed him either.
He was passed out on the floor.
That's right, yes.
No, but I like that aspect, and I was thinking, is the game gonna make us kill these? Because they made you kill the first guy.
Yeah.
Or he killed himself on your sword.
Yeah, he killed himself. Yeah,
right. And so there was that whole thing going on, and I was like, are they gonna force us to kill everybody? But they didn't, and we actually scored really well because of that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
And I felt very vindicated, like, yeah, we did something good.
Yep.
And I still think we're working for the bad guys. I still think, and in this case, they came as close as possible in this one to go, you're working for bad guys.
Yes. Well, I think they definitely told us that.
Well, that was some of the internet stuff.
Because we did so well.
It wasn't in the game, that bugged me.
We did so well. No, with even the point value that we got because of for not killing those brothers. We got really high marks for not killing them.
We didn't kill 2 of them out of the 4, right?
That's pretty much a push toward you're on the wrong side.
Yeah, and to me that was neat. It's neat. In Time Stories, I love when you meet someone and they're like, psst, I'm not really this guy. I'm really Agent 46431. I'm like, ooh, that's cool.
Yes,
I always get excited by that.
That's the cool stuff,
right?
yeah.
I'm not as excited when you meet someone and, and they're like, oh, I'm a poor waif. And you're like, also? Nope, just a poor waif. Like, you found that at Orphan, and we still don't know if that had anything to do with anything.
I don't remember.
The kid who kept stealing from us?
Oh, I didn't match that up to anybody. I must have been someplace I didn't find or didn't go to. The thing took 5 hours. I wasn't going to go look for his dad. It's fine. He can figure it out.
Okay, I also thought this was curious because it almost hinged on being a Euro game at some point.
Yeah.
Go pick up goods here, go sell them here for a price, and we figured out
We can use that to buy a new ship.
we figured out the most economical place, but we didn't buy the best ship, which would have made our lives a lot easier.
It would have.
But we didn't want to go back and do all that again.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the new mechanisms in this, having a ship, sailing, the maritime stuff, that's all really engaging
Oh, and the
stuff.
assisting I liked.
The assisting for combat was great. The only thing I honestly wish they would have put in here is some of the things that they discovered in previous ones that they refused to touch again. Like medicine, right? We had medicine in one of the other... Like, that could help us survive the really nasty combat.
Well, we kind of, well, not the nasty part, but
No, the lemons and all
kinda
that?
had that with the lemons. I mean,
that's different. That was
that's
for one
how-
specific thing.
right.
By the way, that was one thing that was funny the first couple times, but that going over the seas and just turning over a card and being like, guess we all died, or someone died, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone drowned or whatever. That was not as exciting. Again, it's a big event, but that was kind of countered for me by we can go to any of these islands we want, eventually getting the compass and being like, wow, now we can go to a whole pile of stuff.
Yeah, that was amazing.
was neat.
When
trying to figure
when that
out.
opened up to that, I was right back in. I was like, okay, this is exciting now.
Yeah.
And it was also neat because we found the right answer, and then you guys found the secret answer, like the other place we were going to go to also,
Yeah.
because you used that deduction of where on the map the island would be.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So that's why, despite all the little niggling problems that I had, I still liked it overall because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
story was so strong.
Yeah. That was cool.
I just wish that the mechanisms would feel a little creaky at this point, is probably my complaint.
They just discovered all these other things, like I said, that they've come up with for other scenarios, and they refuse to use them again.
Oh, yeah, like transferring from one person to another.
Yeah, like why not, or whatever. I can't remember them all right now, but there's been a lot of innovative concepts in previous scenarios that they do not touch again. Why not? If you discover some mechanism that really goes
I
over
don't
well
know.
with
I mean,
people.
the whole thing with, and these are just two that you've mentioned. The one with, being able to switch between different things. I think we got allies a lot easier in this episode than we have ever. I mean,
Oh,
there
sure.
were,
Well, this one
there
had
were a
allies, a
whole
ton of
number
them.
of allies in this
They don't
thing.
save you though. If you take a hit, you still take the hit. I honestly
No,
would
some
have
of them
loved-
we could
Well, that's true.
discard the ally instead
We
of
did.
one of us.
I would have liked to have seen the thing from the Egyptian setting where you can jump from one person to another, And if we're going to have a ragtag team of pirates with us, let us, if we're about to die, then whoop, I jump to a different body. I mean, come up with some sci-fi hocus pocus for that. Who cares? That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Keep the run going. Don't make me restart.
Yeah.
Well, either way, I liked it more than I disliked it. It's
too,
kind of
me
weird.
too.
Brotherhood of the Coast made me really like the scenario, but made me like Time Stories less. I know that kind of is a weird thing. I like this scenario a lot, but the system of Time Stories is starting to wear
I think
me.
you and I both felt the same way after this. We're like, you know what? This was a step up from the last couple, and also a good place to stop.
Right, I feel like, yay,
Like,
we
hey,
finished.
all right, we ended up on a high note. This is nice. I am done.
Especially since the next one's some French court, and I'm like, woohoo, who cares?
Yeah.
That'd be really cool though.
Well, you let us know. Sam's in here playing by himself. We're like, what?
right.
He's like, you said you didn't want to play.
That's
Get out.
right.
Get out. No
Get out.
spoilers. Mon Dieu.
All right, well, we better end this video. Any final thoughts before we go?
This is cool. I mean, if you've been enjoying Time Stories, definitely get your hands on this. You'll have a good time with it. It's a solid scenario. The only problems you'd have with this would be problems you'd have with the Time Stories system. And if you don't have any, get on this.
Yeah. I'm there probably even more than either of these two are, because while I am wearying on the combat, I think that that is an easy fix. Something I was thinking about is why don't you just make all of the characters a little bit more combat heavy?
Yeah, but that's you changing the game. It's the same thing as us
I'm
taking 20.
talking about them doing it.
Oh, right. No,
talking
of
about
course.
them
I mean, we
doing
got so many
I mean,
fixes.
instead of having the Doctor who is on a pirate ship and hangs out with pirates, only having a one ability to fight, come on, give them two. Or give him 3.
That's a problem with
We're at the point now where I will always take a combat-heavy guy.
Yeah, we have to.
Because I don't know what kind of combat I'll run into. And if I get to someone I can't talk my way through, oh well, at least I can fight.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Alrighty, well, thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia, thank you.
Sam Healy. See you on the flip side, folks.
Arr.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.